Hi everyone, welcome back to Desert Isle Forge. My name is Tim, and in this video I'm going to show you how I made this roasting fork. So this week we celebrate the 4th of July here in the United States, and I found this subject to be fitting for this occasion. Maybe you can follow along and make your own and use it at your 4th of July barbecue. So the first step of this project is to split the end of our material right in the middle at about 2.5 inches long. We're using a 1/4 by 1 inch flat stock, and I marked the center. I went over the center punch so I will find the marks in the heat. I'm using my splitting chisel and a 3-pound hammer. You can also cut this with a bend saw or an angle grinder. So we heated up the material and now we go and split it down in the middle. Just applying heavy strikes and going all the way through. I'm using again the sacrificial plate to protect my anvil from cuts and damage. And with this heat we're gonna go all the way up to the last mark and cut all the way through. I'm gonna flip it over and make sure that we cut through to the last mark from both sides. So after our split is done, I'm gonna bend the two parts 90 degrees. Then I'm gonna wait until it cools down or quenches in a tank, and remove these somewhat sharp edges, so I will prevent the material overlapping when I'm forging this down to the forks. If you cut with the grinder or a bend saw, you will prevent this sharp edge, so you don't have to grind. So the next step is to move these branches back a little bit and create a somewhat T-shape. I'm gonna create a very slight radius here on the end of this whole area. So when I'm shaping the forks, it creates a nice curvature. I'm gonna concentrate my heat in this area and push material back. I'm gonna use my hammer and also the horn of the anvil to create that nice radius. So after we gave the heat, you're gonna just use the hammer and push this back. So now I gave the heat just behind the T, because I want to push material back there instead of making this part of the branch thinner. I gave the heat right here to push material back, but keep this relatively the same thickness. Now I concentrated my heat in the center, and I'm going to push down from the top, moving material down, filling up that low ogive gap that's created by the cut, chisel cut. And as I'm working, I'm constantly keeping all these the branches straight. That way I can control the shape 100%. So now we came over to the horn of the anvil and just pushing down on the piece to create a nice little radius there. This is the easiest way, and this is the easiest time to create this little radius there, because we have still mass behind our working area, so to say. So the next step is to forge these branches down and shape the forks. Just do a rough shape. I'm not going to do the final shape yet. And after that, I'm going to forge down this neck area, and that's going to be the stem of the fork. When I said the planning of your steps is very important, if you forge this down before you start splitting or forging the forks, you're going to have a very hard time, because this is going to be a thin area and there won't be any mess behind the T. And also when you heat the pieces, the thinner part gets heated first, and the thicker parts will have less temperature. This will be less malleable. So now we're just using the horn of the anvil to have easier drawing as the curved surfaces spread the material faster. I'm using a 3-pound hammer and just drawing out this part. Now the other half is a little bit longer, a little bit thicker, so I might have to trim off the end a little bit. I'm coming here to smooth up everything. And I'm still using the principle of drawing, turning 90 degrees. Maybe not with every strike, but with, repeatedly back and forth. I'm gonna heat it up again and shape it up a little bit nicer. So I'm done forging the forks, and now I give a heat in the middle, and I'm just gonna bend them out of the way right now, for now, before I start to work on this neck area. Next, I'm gonna give a heat here and come to the outside edge of the anvil and forge this down to the right thickness. So here's our piece heated up to forging temperature. We place the beginning of the forks on the outside edge of the anvil, and we strike down with our hammer, creating a shoulder and reducing the width of the material. We're turning 180 frequently to have everything in the center, because as I always talk about, the anvil leaves a different impact and makes a different impact than the hammer. So we're gonna give another heat and come back. I'm gonna reduce it to about 1/2 inch wide, and leave it about 1/4 inch thick. Back with another heat, forging it further down to the desired thickness. This is an excellent opportunity to practice your how accurate you can forge. So I have to come here and force down the stem of the fork a little bit, because it started to get in the way as I was forging the shoulder. So I have to create a section that is long enough to clear my anvil and go back to refine that shoulder a little more. So I switched to my 2-pound hammer and found a nice corner on the anvil, and I'm going to touch up these corners here and then come to the horn and fix those little deformations and marks, and create a nice transition between the surfaces. There you go. Also taking off the sharp edges. I don't like to leave sharp edges on anything, so We're gonna come back and shape the fork part later. Next step, I'm gonna forge this down, the stem I call it, and I probably want to have about a 20-inch long fork, and I'm gonna shape the handle part the way I shaped the handle of the toaster and the skewer set. So it's gonna be a nice matching kind of a set. So I forged down the stem or the neck of the fork. If somebody knows how this part is called, just let me know in the comment section. Next I'm going to do the handle. I'm going to forge a elongated diamond shape with a little disc at the end. I'm going to punch a hole there for hanging, and I'm going to spread out the handle parts, make it a little bit wider, and create a nice little line or a spine in the center. So first I'm going to come on the inside of the anvil and create a longer taper here towards the fork part, at about maybe 3 or 4 inches long. And then I'm going to heat up the material again, go on the outside of the anvil and do an opposite taper on the other side. Now on the outside of the anvil, do the opposite taper, and again returning 180 to keep everything centered and nice. It's easier to keep everything centered than fixing it later. I'm just going to reduce the this area a little more. You could use a fuller to do this shoulder here, but you can practice hammering this way and develop those basic fundamental skills and hammer control and all that good stuff. Of course, if you do production, it's probably faster if you use specialized tools, but just a one-off piece, we like to do everything with just minimal tool as possible. So we have this roughly rough elongated diamond shape. I'm actually not happy with this area here. This is too wide for me, so I'm gonna go ahead and just reduce the width a little bit, and I'll come back to you. So I reduced the width a little bit. It looks more nice and elegant. So first we're gonna make sure everything is nice and straight. And then I'm gonna come with the 3-pound hammer and start to spread this out, the handle part. We're having fun today. It's about 97, 98 degrees today. Summer here in southern Nevada. It's kind of warm, but this summer actually was pretty cool. We barely hit 100, a couple days maybe. Normally by this time of the year it's about 108, 109, and lasts until about the end of September. So back for more spreading, and now I'm trying to start to create that ridge, that straight line in the middle of the handle. Try to make it so that it's in the center. And then I will come with this. This is the 3-pound hammer. I will come back with the smaller hammer and define all those lines. The key to a nice finish and the nice forging is to have all your transitions from one part to the other, and all the transition lines nice and smooth. That will give you that professional look and also very nice appearance. The aesthetics are very important to me. I don't just do functional stuff, but also try to do nice looking ones as well. I'm touching up the side of the handle too to create some sharp kind of point, and that's how it becomes a diamond shape, kind of diamond shape, an elongated diamond. And then on the center I have that nice line. It might have some textures. I'm not going to touch this up with the file. I leave this raw because I think this looks fine. But with the toaster, I want it to have that more like finished, not finished, but more smooth finished look. So here I'm happy with the shape of the handle now. Next step, I'm going to create the disc at the end of the handle, punch the hole so it can be hung on a hook. To do that, I'm going to shape a square out of this rectangular piece here, then an octagon, and then a disc or a circular piece, and then chamfer the edges and punch the hole. So first I'm going to just reduce the width of this rectangular section and then put it on the corner of this block and strike the opposite corner, creating a shoulder and also creating that somewhat octagonal shape, and then removing or hammering the inner corners as well. And then flattening it. So I'm using this block when I'm rounding this section up to keep that corner kind of sharp. And then I can come here and touch it up. And now just find the middle of this disc shaped piece and just drive the punch down. Flip it around and punch the hole. So I'm just going to use this drift punch and enlarge the hole a little bit. And then using the smaller hammer, just fixing up the chamfer as well as the neck here a little bit. And that's pretty much it. So I finished the handle part. Now I'm going to go on the other side and heat up the fork part and give it its final shape. Then I'm going to go and probably cold, I'm going to give a curve to the entire roasting fork. So here it is, just giving the final shape to this fork. I'm going to narrow it down a little bit and then come out with it and have it kind of parallel. And then I'm going to bend it the other way as well. If your forks didn't come out exactly the same length, you can cheat a little bit with the curvature. and have that take off the difference. So I'm here at the bending fork and just shaping it a little bit. I don't want to have too much straight, only about maybe 1.25 inches, not even that much, just a bit of a straight at the end, if any, like that. So here we go, the fork part is shaped, everything nice and flat and straight. The next step, I'm gonna give it a slight curve. The stem or handle part will curve this way and the head just a little bit back, so it makes it more comfortable to hold and to use. So I'm doing it cold using my bending fork and just giving slight taps. I'm not doing a super exaggerated curve, just a very slight one, just to help the ergonomics of it. Constantly checking, and then I'm gonna bend the forks the opposite direction a little more. All right, just a hair more. And then I checked that everything stayed straight and no twists in the handle. Check for the feel. Needs a little bit more on the fork end to come back. Probably can do it like that. Make sure everything is centered. And it feels pretty good. The next step is to clean it with the wire brush and give it a light coat of oil. I use olive oil because I want to use a food grade oil on this one. So now I'm applying a light coat of olive oil with the brush, and then remove the excess with a rag. You can also always reapply this coat as it wears off to prevent rust. So this is it, guys. This is the end of today's video. I hope you find this project interesting. If you like to support my channel, please like, share and subscribe. Also, if you like to visit my website, it's www.desertalforge.com. Thanks for watching and happy Fort.